Good evening. This evening I am going to be reading from James 5, 1 to 11 in the English Standard Version, ESV. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up treasure in the last days. Behold, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, are crying out against you. And the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and in self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you. Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it, until it receives the early and the late rains. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brothers, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. As an example of suffering and patience, brothers, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Behold, we consider those blessed who remained steadfast. You have heard of the steadfastness of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord, how the Lord is compassionate and merciful. Okay. This really gives us a good picture of these last days before Jesus comes back for his bride. It describes a lot what the scriptures describe about these last days. And when I think of the rich and the description here, I think of my country, America. We're not the only wealthy nation. I don't know that we're the most wealthy, and I don't know how that wealth is measured, considering our debt ceiling is so high that our government will probably never be able to pay it back. So does that make you wealthy if you have too much debt? I don't think so. But, wealth is relative, I guess, to the circumstances, and borrowed debt, it means you have money that you can use, and temporarily anyway, until someone calls the debt, and you have to repay it. So anyway, I live in America, so that's what I understand, and that's what I can talk about. I read things about other nations, but I can't be sure that what I'm reading is the truth, because not everything's the truth these days. In fact, most things seem to be lies and things that are orchestrated and made up and faked, and it's all over the place. This really is a good description of America, but it isn't just America. There are other places in the world who are like this, but not everybody is, obviously. Okay, so it's talking about the miseries that are going to come upon those, not just that have money, because there are people who have money that are very generous with their money, or they appear to be very generous with their money. So not everybody who's wealthy is like this, and not everybody who is poor is not like this, so this is a hard issue. And so I guess it's predominant among those who have a lot of money and power, because maybe it goes to their heads. But, there are poor people who have these kinds of attitudes, as well as there are rich people who don't, okay? But let's go with this scenario here. It does describe a lot the nation that I live in, and we do have, like I said, a lot of borrowed debt wealth, however you want to describe that. Um, but what it's talking about is how people are treating other people. And a lot of that is subjective, meaning that not everybody looks at it the same way. It's all according to what we believe is really going on in the world. Because some people just believe whatever they see in the news, whatever they hear. And then others of us, some of us, the Lord has been opening our eyes to what's really going on, and He's been showing us the truth of a lot of things that are covered up, and others do a lot of homework, and they go to other sites besides just the MSM, the mainstream media. But even those, you can't be sure that you can trust them. So that's where we have to depend on the Lord to help us to discern truth from lies when it's not biblical truth or biblical lies. Uh, that's probably not a good phrase, biblical lies. You know what I mean? Lies that they talk about in the Bible as opposed to the truth of the scriptures. But like with our government, our government heads, they're all the time talking and telling us what they're doing. Are they really doing that? Or are they not? I believe they're not. I don't believe there's any right and left. I believe that the Republican and Democrat are just two sides of the same whole, the same team. They're all on the same team. They're all working toward the same goal. And if you read Revelation 13, that's the goal. It's world domination. It's to bring us all under this one world government. So they are exactly what this is talking about. They will pretend to be our friends. They will pretend to be on our side and for us and like that all the time that they're doing this evil. And it isn't just defrauding people of their wages, but it's just defrauding people of all kinds of things, just decency and morality and justice and truth and righteousness. There's just so much deception going on in our government and in the church, And so what they're defrauding the church of is the truth. So is the government, so is the news media. And so they are, so we who are the laborers who are walking with the Lord, we're praying to the Lord about this. We're crying out to the Lord, understand, He hears our cries, because these are people who are hurting other people, who are taking advantage of other people. They're going throughout the world they're raping people, but raping people's countries and their land and their natural resources, and just killing people at will. I mean, it's horrible things that are going on in the world. They're so covered up that we in America, we don't know about a lot of those things because they are covered up, and the only way we can know is if we ask the Lord to open our eyes and to help us to see the truth behind all the lies. But this is exactly, where the American government is, in relation to what they're doing with our own country and in other countries throughout the world. And they are murdering the righteous because they're going against Christians, throughout the world. They're going against, even if they pretend to be Christians. So many of them are not. It's just we have to realize that fakery is everywhere, and the Bible tells us that we're going to live in this time of great deception, and that's where we are. And we just can't trust everything. We can't trust everybody to be who they say they are. And this is where we need spiritual discernment, because we can't just turn to the scriptures to tell us if so and so said the truth or not, if it's not something biblical. So we have to ask the Lord to give us understanding, to help us to see, beyond all of the facades, to see that the truth of what's really going on. And this is the situation we are in America. This is the situation we are in the world. We're headed toward that one world beast, government, and one world religion. If you've been paying attention to what's been going on in the church, you can see we're headed right toward that one world religion, because Christianity and the gospel have been reduced to just pray this prayer, or make some profession or confession, or you just accept God's his affection for us is what one person says. And with all the movies about Jesus and everything, where it's all been diluted, and it's his character has been changed and altered, and so all of this, and those of us who are seeing these things, it grieves us. We are calling to God about this, but we need to be patient, and we need to wait, on the Lord, because sometimes we mean, like, Lord, when are you going to come back? Lord, when is this all going to be over? When is all this evil going to end? But we need to be patient with the Lord, because His timing is perfect. Because He knows everything, and we know very little. And we are not to be we're not to be grumbling and fighting each other. And I see so much of this among Christians. They're fighting over things that probably don't even exist, like this whole left and right thing. Oh, that's a big thing. And it gets Christians, fighting each other in public, on social media, on Christian discussion sites. And they're giving a really bad testimony for Jesus Christ and for His gospel. So we need to be patient. We need to wait on the Lord. We need to be willing to suffer injustices, for our walks of faith in Jesus Christ, knowing the times that we're in and how things are going, that we're probably going to get betrayed. We're going to have friends, maybe even family, because the Bible talks about the family turning against us, that we need to be prepared for the reality of those things in our lives. But we need to just keep trusting the Lord and believing in Him, and be steadfast in spirit, and just keep loving people, and doing the will of God, and keep sharing the gospel, and just trust in the Lord with what's going on in the world. And one day Jesus is going to come back, and He's going to take His faithful ones to be with Him for eternity, and then all of this is going to be over. And that will be a glorious day, won't it? Okay, that's the encouragement for today.